Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. And in the studio, once again, to discuss the fascinating facts of Polish history, I'm joined by Professor Krzysztof Jabłonka. Professor, let's look now, if we may, at the 19th century. A lot of the territory of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was under the control of the Russians. And yet, of course, this territory also had a large Ukrainian population. Did the Poles and Ukrainians cooperate in the various uprisings against Russian rule?
Pamiętajmy, że caryca Katarzyna II zlikwidowała Sicz zaporowską.
Catherine the Great disbanded the Zaporozhian Sich, and as a result, all homeless Cossacks decided to join the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which granted them rights. In 1792, they joined Prince Józef Poniatowski's army and fought on his side in defense of the constitution of the Commonwealth as well as Ukraine. They considered him their ataman. Also in the Napoleonic era, during the outbreak of the Kościuszka Uprising, 30,000 Cossacks left the Tsar's side and ran to help Kościuszko. In 1794, two divisions of the Ukrainian army defended Warsaw in the so-called Olszynka Powązkowska in the north. Amilcar Kosiński became famous in the Napoleonic era because he brought on the Volhynia Uprising in 1812. In 1830 and 1831, Polish general Edmund Różycki, who spoke Ukrainian, formed divisions that consisted only of Ukrainians in Volhynia, Podolia and Kiev. Despite the fact that the uprisings in Lithuania and Belarus were much stronger, this small uprising galvanized the Ukrainian nobility as well as a great part of peasants into action. They wanted to be granted the same rights as peasants in Poland.
Takie prawa, jakie przynajmniej chłopi mieli w Polsce. No i najbardziej takim spektakularnym udziałem będzie powstanie styczniowe, kiedy herb Ukrainy...
The most spectacular contribution of Ukrainians was the January Uprising. This is when the Ukrainian coat of arms joined the coat of arms of the Great Duchy of Lithuania and Belarus and the crown of the Kingdom of Poland. As a result, the four nations became brothers who treated themselves equally. The threefold coat of arms was representing our common effort for half a century. Platon Krzyżanowski, an Orthodox who was shot dead in the Kiev fortress, Kołyszko, or the successors of Edmund Różycki, they all formed divisions as well. The famous Battle of Salicha, which ended in the Cossacks' victory over the Tsar's army, gave Ukraine the strength to survive. When the insurgents were exiled to Siberia, they brought on the Baikal insurrection. There were at least 50 Ukrainians among 350 insurgents. We have common history. All the uprisings were the uprisings of the four nations of the Commonwealth until the 19th century, when we parted ways due to nationalism. First, Lithuania drifted apart, then Belarus and Ukraine. Then, because of the Austrian intrigue, Poland had a conflict with Ukraine over the city of Lviv, which was our common city. We weren't able to reach an agreement. It was the end of domination of the two powers, the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany.
Jednych raz drugich, no i wmieszaniem się takich potęg jak Związek Sowiecki czy Trzecia Rzesza Niemiecka.
And Professor, during the 19th century, did Ukrainian culture in any way influence Polish culture?
Wzajemne były wpływy.
They were mutual. Ukrainian culture influenced Polish culture and the other way around. The so-called Ukrainian school was founded during the Renaissance in Poland. Mr. Marczewski was one of the founders of this school. He wrote an amazing poem titled Maria, based on reality in Ukraine. Another founders of the school were Juliusz Słowacki, who wrote some of his poems in Ukrainian, and Tomasz Padura, half Pole and half Ukrainian, who wrote a great and still very popular song called Hey Falcons or Hey Sokoły. The song is about green Ukraine, which reminded him about a girl he was in love with. Polish culture also influenced Ukrainian culture. Ukrainians acquired Polish culture, especially the culture of the Polish nobility, and as a result, Ukrainians formed a new social class, which adopted the culture of the Polish nobility, and not the Russian nobility. When Henryk Sienkiewicz wrote the first part of the trilogy, titled With Fire and Sword, which tells a story of the fight between Poles and Ukrainians from the Polish perspective, Stalicki wrote the anti-trilogy, which was simply a response of the Ukrainians. The words "a storm before the storm and after the storm" refer to the uprising and the destruction of the borderlands by Turks, Tatars, Russians, Poles and Cossacks. Stalicki wanted to present the Ukrainian point of view on this matter. As we can see, the two nations gave each other the most valuable gift of the culture, which is literature. The Polish school in Ukrainian poetry was very important as well. Unfortunately, our mutual culture did not reach that far, because of the division between our languages. But the inhabitants of the borderlands spoke two languages. My mother was raised there, and she spoke perfect Ukrainian. But antagonism existed. Poles considered themselves as nobility, and Ukrainians as peasants.
A Ukraińcy za chłopów.
Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for on this episode, so it remains for me to say thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching, and do join us again on Poland Daily History.